Hello, I'm David Rothenberg, hosting this podcast, the Reentry Reality Check of the Fortune Society, a nonprofit organization which advocates for the formerly incarcerated and for men and women still in prison. We also provide multiple services for the thousands who walk through our doors each year. Thank you for joining us.
Hold my head high as I travel along this road. Help me always to speak kind words.
When we talk about reentry, coming out of prisons, there are so many aspects of it, but one that's rarely discussed, and people don't think about it if it hasn't affected them greatly, is that there are men and women who are incarcerated and come out and have to resume a life with children, their children. And how do you go from incarceration to being a parent after a period of time of absentia? Our guests, Tiffany Vulcain and Lymus Rivera, both experienced this, and why don't you each tell us what the situation was when you came out, and then we'll delve into the beginnings. But Tiffany, when you came home, who was waiting for you, or were they waiting for you?
Yes, they most certainly were waiting for me. So I'm a mom of two boys. Initially, when I went inside, I only had one child, and I was pregnant. So I actually gave birth while I was incarcerated. And so I hadn't had experience as a mom of two, especially a mom of two who children were in school. And when I came home, it was very new to me.
How old were they?
They were 4 and 7.
Okay. Now, Lymus, when you came home, how old were your kids?
My daughter was 24.
So you did a lot of time then.
Yeah.
All right. So you came home. Now we'll go back to the beginnings. We'll start with you, Tiffany. When you went away, you said you were pregnant with one child and you had the other. Was one of the obvious things while you were away, you did federal time, I think you told me.
Yes.
While you were away, did you have contact with the children? Was there continuity, or when you came home, were you a stranger to them?
I wasn't a stranger, thankfully, but because of my own behavior, I kept going into special housing unit, also known as the SHU. So I would get visitation taken away from me. So there were times where I did have regular visitation, and there were other times where I had gone a year or two without seeing my children.
Where were your children? How long were you away?
For 5 years.
And who took care of them while you were gone?
The family of my husband at the time.
And so was there, while you were locked up, was there any program or counseling on how to reunite with children and determining what their emotional and physical needs were?
My God, I wish.
There's nothing?
Nothing, absolutely nothing.
So you had to invent it for yourself?
Yeah, I had to find support once I was released.
And where did you find that? Did you find support?
I did. I'm actually really resourceful. I found an agency that I'm still connected to, Children of Promise New York City, that supports children and families, particularly children who have incarcerated parents.
And how old you've been home how long?
10 years in next month.
So your children, is it two boys?
2 boys.
And they're how old?
13 and 17.
And they're with you?
Unfortunately, my 17-year-old is actually incarcerated. He has a few open cases, and my youngest one, the one I had while I was incarcerated, he's doing well. The 17-year-old, did you have any relationship with him when you came out? Oh. I did. We had a very good relationship. He, I think, resents me. It's just a whole bunch of backstory.
Well, that's a key word. He resents you because you weren't there when in his formative years.
Well, he's never said that, but that's my assumption.
That's your interpretation.
Yes.
And at what age did he start getting into difficulty?
Maybe about 3 years ago. He'd been getting into difficulty because he's just that kind of kid. But that didn't interfere with our relationship until he started getting in trouble with the courts. That's when our relationship took a turn.
So you said that while you were away, his father's family took care of him. Are they still involved with him now?
So maybe I wasn't clear. That wasn't his biological family. Oh. That's my youngest biological family. I was married to my youngest son's father. So those were not his biological family members, but they took care of both of my children.
And who, when you say they, who was it?
It was...
Sorry. I'm so sorry.
modern technology has just come into the taping.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question, David?
It was, what was the question? While you were away, who in the family that was, who were taking care of them? Who were they?
So it was my my husband at the time, his aunt. She is more like his mom, though.
And she has sustained a relationship with the two boys?
They resided with her for the most part.
Still?
No, they were residing with me. Once I came home, I took full.
No, but did she maintain a relationship, and did she act as a bridge for you with them?
She did, but it's very interesting. I didn't know how to be a mom, so I ended up having a child welfare case. There was an incident that happened in my home involving the dad. They took the kids away. She was an advocate for my kids, and I didn't understand it at the time, but she felt like the kids weren't safe with me, or that what had happened didn't happen while I was incarcerated. And so for 2 years, they stayed with her. The youngest one stayed with her, and I had to fight for my kids back.
It's very complicated. We'll come back to you.
Okay.
Lymus, when you came home, you said your daughter in the 20s. That's a different. Were you living with her when you came home? That's a whole different ballgame, isn't it?
No, I wasn't living with her. She was living with, she was grown. She was living by herself.
And what kind of relationship while you were away, did she visit you? Did you?
The first half of my incarceration, I unfortunately, had the support of my wife at the time, which was her mother, and my grandmother. And they always made an effort to bring her up to see me. She was in my wife's belly when I came into prison, so...
Your wife was pregnant with your baby, so you didn't have a relationship with her before you were incarcerated.
No.
So all you had with her was her visits.
Her visits. They had conjugal visits, trailer visits. She would bring up sometimes. But once I got separated from my wife at that time, my grandmother was the major supporter in bringing my daughter up.
But would you consider your relationship with her good now, or is it strained, or is it the word resentful? Tiffany said resentful. Is there? Do you feel any of that?
I don't. I had a good chance to speak to her. It's still fresh for me. My daughter passed away in May of 2025, so it's been.
I'm sorry.
That's very tough. Yeah. I'm sorry. But when you came home, you've been home about 10 years now?
Mm-hmm.
When you came home, you had a new relationship that was created while you met somebody who was visiting,
mm-hmm.
and you had a relationship, and you had trailer visits, and she became pregnant. So you came home to those babies.
Mm-hmm.
And how many were they?
Well, fortunate for me is 3. Right.
And they were visiting the whole time.
They were visiting.
But it's not the same thing as being at home. When you came home, how did you have any preparation for being daddy?
You never prepared. No matter how much. You take classes. There was a class that did come in.
There was a class in prison.
There was a parenting classes. Sponsored by Osborne that would come in. And they
it wasn't by the prison. It was an outside agency that came in.
They came into Otisville. That was the only time I really had that type of experience. But most of my, my ability to be a part of their life was, was fostered by the relationship with their mother and, people that really cared.
How old are they now?
Well, my daughter that passed away, she was 30 and 29.
No, but the 3 children you had while you were away.
You have Serenity, that's 13, going on 31. And Lymus, he just turned 9 on February 4th.
And you live with them?
Yes.
And the relationship is?
It's healthy. It's growing. It's learning.
13 is not easy under the best of circumstances.
No.
What prompted this discussion, and I want to see if it makes any sense to you. I was talking with a woman who when her husband went away, her children were 2 and 3. When he came home, they were 9 and 10. and he immediately thought he was going to assume parenthood. And the two little girls who had 7 years without him in the house said to their mother, he was suddenly giving orders and being the daddy, he thought. And they resented it because they both said, Mommy, we were doing fine without him. Who was this stranger?
Yes.
As far as they were concerned, who was this stranger telling us that? And that's very rare that the kids are able to articulate it. So she was kind of lucky in a way. But do you feel any of that the word was resentment before, but how do you claim parenthood when you've been absent, and do you discuss that with your children at all?
It's interesting that it's interesting that you bring this up, because it's something that I see across the population of parents here at Fortune. So many moms talk to me about how they could reconnect with their children after being incarcerated for so long. The children often resent them. I would say orders are not the first point of entry. Discipline, for me, I don't think is effective. I think building a relationship, therapeutic support, earning that respect back, open communication, transparency. I think when you come in as an authoritative figure after you haven't been in the child's life for so long, it's counterproductive. Kids don't want to be told what to do, right? Kids need consistency. And so first you need to earn the trust to show, like, I'm here to stay. And that's something that I was very fortunate to pick up on right away. I didn't immediately just take my kids. I actually moved in to the home that they were in so that they can see me coexisting with the caretaker. Although we didn't have the best...
Was that a strategy or a necessity?
It was a strategy on both of our ends, because I had given birth while I was incarcerated. I didn't just want to take him away.
So did you talk with their aunt, who was their custodian while you were away? Did you talk with her while you were incarcerated about a strategy?
Yes. This is something we came up with.
You both agreed on it, that you would come in, and she was the decision maker until they got to know you.
It wasn't established that she would be the decision maker. We didn't talk about it that far. But she was willing to open my home. She'd had this kid since he was born.
Yes.
And then, it was kind of hard for her to just give him up as well. So that was the compromise.
Is the first step, and Lymus, I'm going to be asking you the same questions, is it that before there's discussion, do you start taking them places, like to a movie or to the park, so that they see you as a companion or a supporter? I'm not quite sure what words there are when you're establishing a motherhood role or a fatherhood role in Lymus's case.
So I had to be creative because we don't have much money coming home. So that community that I mentioned before, Children of Promise, they had a lot of kickball games and a lot of community stuff that our children and I were, my children and myself, we were able to have activities together in the community, fun, celebrations, without necessarily having to spend money. When I did end up finding employment thanks to Fortune, and I had money to spend at that point, which was maybe a few months later, I was able to take them to movie theaters and, amusement parks, all kinds of stuff. I'd buy them gifts, and slowly I earned their trust.
And Lymus, you came home, their mother had been with your children, with the two that you live with now.
Correct.
So you moved into the home where she was the parent,
Mm-hmm.
and this man that they visited occasionally was a partner. How did you go about that?
Well, Serenity was the one who...
Serenity's the name, not a state of mind, but the name of your beautiful girl.
Yeah, my 13-year-old. And then Lymus was born after my release. So he seen me from birth. So I seen both sides. My point of view was I missed out on my whole older daughter's life. So I felt like I had another chance with Serenity. Sometimes we come in and we have the best of intentions to try to make sure everybody's safe and all right, they don't experience the same type of neglect or trauma, that we experienced growing up. And then you find that, life has a way of making its way through it. So
after one event, I had dinner with you and your wife and the 2 children. I would have, my assessment just on one meal, and that's not a whole lifetime, is that they were typical kids. They were silly, they were cute, they were smart.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
But what I was impressed most, I can't remember if it was your boy or girl, they kept wanting to show you something in their film on their phone, and the most important thing was, Daddy, look at it. So are you aware of the fact that, I think it was your son, and even in the car, everything he said was directed to you for your sharing with him whatever he was discovering on that phone that never got turned off. But you, that was different than Serenity, because she was a child while you were locked up. Is there a difference in the two?
Yeah, it's a big difference. A big difference. I see the difference. I see the emotional difference. I see, when
do you feel
there's a need for any type of correction or there's something that goes wrong, I see Serenity turning more towards, her moms, because she's more dependent on her moms. And then I see, Lymus, he's like the balancer. He just tries to make sure that if he says I love you to me, he wants to say I love you to his moms.
Yeah.
He has that consciousness. But just having a conversation with my wife about all 3 of the kids, she says I see the difference in Lymus in comparison to all of them, because I was absent for the first 2. So my 3rd child is like my 4th child, really.
You're a subject that sociologists would want to come in and study, because you have all the variations right there. Do you feel that in dealing with, your daughter is 13. 13-year-olds can do a lot of things that are annoying and objectionable. Do you feel that you have the right to be a parent, or do you defer to your wife, the mother, or do you? And if you do, how do you approach that?
Well, I think I have the responsibility, first and foremost, to let her know if she's going in the wrong direction or she needs some direction and leadership. My responsibility is to be intentional and direct, and not direct to the extent when I'm reprimanding her, but direct to the extent where I had to learn her language. I got to be able to be sensitive to whatever she's going through. Sometimes just being around her, just listening and laying in the bed with her, something that lets her know that I'm listening. And that will create an opportunity for her to just want to open up. But if I come in, remember, these are years without a male figure, years of, receiving discipline from her mother. So it's more gentle, more,
Does she ever talk to you about your being incarcerated, or do you ever talk to her about things that...
Well, she knows, I just don't go into details as to what happened.
Not while you were there, but while you were away from her.
Yeah, she actually, she wish, I was there, but she and I came home when she was 3 already, so...
And 13-year-olds have their own agendas dealing with rather than daddies. Yeah. That's part of it. Do you have that? Have you ever had a discussion with your kids about while you're away? Do they bring it up, or do you ever bring it up? And if it's brought up, is it in anger, or is it in questions?
I let it come up naturally. So I remember there was one incident where my son, who I had while I was incarcerated, he actually said, "My picture, mommy. You're my picture, mommy." So I was like, why does he keep saying that? And I realized that his aunt had a picture of me that I sent home from prison on her dresser in a mirror. So I said, "I'm your real mommy. I'm not your picture mommy. I'm your real mommy." So there were times like that where I would have to reaffirm. And then also I told him that he didn't know he was born in prison. Wow. So, or while I was incarcerated. So I actually released a book, and when I released the book, I didn't want people to tell him. So we set up this therapy session. My kids had always been in therapy as soon as I got out. And we talked to him about it, and I asked him, did he know? And he said no. And he was like, cool, can I tell my friends?
Well, yeah. So. Tiffany, you and Lymus, you both work at Fortune Society, which is a program working with people who are formerly incarcerated. Have you, or have you considered bringing them here? Or Have you been advised whether they should come to Fortune or shouldn't?
My son has been to Fortune several times.
And
He participates in the holiday party.
And he knows all the people. That's the younger one or the older one?
Both of them. But the younger one more so has engaged.
And what is that journey like for him?
He's such a healthy kid. I think that...
What grade is he in now?
Right now he's a senior in junior high school, so 8th grade.
So, and he has friends and he's active in things.
He's doing well, amazingly well. Yeah.
And Lymus, have your kids... Serenity's 13 and Lymus is how old?
9.
9. And they've been here? And do they know what the population is?
Yeah.
Do they ask about people? Why are they
They
here?
don't ask specific, like, what's, the population, like, were they in prison? They don't ask stuff like that. But, I always say that, my for some reason for me, I'm saying, like, I care about the people I serve. So I always feel like if I care, then they're able to be around my family. So I always bring my family to all the events. I bring them to the holiday events, the block parties. They know everybody pretty much. They gonna know you. They know Stan. Because I feel that they need to know this, and I see the compassion in their heart. Like sometimes it could be somebody that's walking in the streets, and for some reason, Fortune has a way of having that effect on people. You could be walking down the street and somebody come and say, "Hey, you're from Fortune," and my kids they're already used to it. They're already like, "Oh."
Are they proud of that or embarrassed?
Yeah, they're very proud.
How are they doing? They're in your daughter's in, I would assume, junior high school at this point, and Lymus is grammar school.
Mm-hmm.
How are they doing?
Well,
do they have friends? Do they have friends that come to the house? Are they social? Are they?
They good.
They're okay.
It's so much, it's you have an idea of how things go, but there's so much that happens,
It's a tough one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
my son Lymus, he's a great kid, like very empathetic, but he has Tourette's, right?
How's he doing in school?
Well, sometimes it affects him in school, but he does good. He's a good kid. Serenity, she's going through changes, hormonal changes, a lot of stuff. As of recently, we've been dealing with a lot of stuff with her. She's been cutting herself. You have a vision of how your life is going to be out here, but you want to know something? I'd rather be out here and deal with everything that's real. I'm not going to paint no pretty picture, but I know that with the right support, with treatment, you can make it, And for everybody who's out there, don't think that because you see individuals, helping you, they don't have stuff going on too. We make it because we believe in our family. We believe in the spirit of resilience, and we fight to do right for our family.
This is one of the toughest subjects, and it's really discussed. I know that you have groups at Fortune, Tiffany, and the women bring it up, but it's not in. They can't talk about a lot of these feelings when they're outside of here because they're not with people who have. I think my assessment is that most people fear judgments by outside people,
Absolutely.
And therefore what they find at Fortune is a cocoon where they're allowed to express the kind of feelings that Lymus is sharing right now. That this is from the belly stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
For both of you, do you find with a lot of people that you work with here at Fortune that they bring up problems with their kids? And
yeah, I actually started an initiative. This year will be the 4th year. We call it Parents' Day. When I came here, I'm like, we're not acknowledging parents. Even if we don't have custody of our children, we're still parents. We should be celebrated. And so my leadership team, they love the idea. And you should see the tears, the panels, the stories. We talk about parenting from prison, what it looks like transitioning back into the community as parents. It's a powerful event that has grown over the last 3 years. And so, yeah, it's this needed space, and it's very much so a gap that is not being addressed.
I've met several people over the years at Fortune that don't haven't gone as far as you both have, and their situation is that their children, if they are 18, 19, cut their parent off, and the parent has gone through changes, and they're not the same person that they were when what got them into trouble. But the child, who's now 20 or 25, only remembers the absence and doesn't want to have a relationship, and it's very tough. So when you meet somebody, or I'm assuming I'm not the only one, you've met people who have children who want to, and other situations where the mother or the other parent doesn't want the child to have any relationship. How do you share that with people? Do you share your own experience, or do you just?
Yeah, I share my experience. I was absent for a long time. I tell them you could use different things to, create a link between you and that child, like journaling, making collages, in that absence of not being with there. If you want to help out financially, put a fund aside for you to be able to give it to them. Because if that day does present itself, you want to have everything right then and there, not to prove that you wasn't there or that whatever. It's just that you love that child, and yeah, sometimes circumstances take you in different directions, but you could make a way out of you making that connection as best as you can, whether it be, like I said, through journaling, through writing a letter, through saving money, through just letting that child know in the absence of their presence, you still have them there.
But Lymus, what do you say to somebody, as a situation I recently, where he said his grown daughter has said, "I don't want to know you. I don't want to be in your life because I'm always disappointed."
Then you apologize and you try to make right, be consistent.
But is there ever a point where you say, "I have to go on my life without that child"?
If you expect it to live, you have to live knowing that her decision has to be validated by you accepting it. You have to accept what that child feels or that adult feels because of the absence of your presence. There was a time I let my hair grow for like 15, 16 years, and it was a promise that I made to my daughter while I was incarcerated. And I said something about her mother, and she said, "You know what, act like I'm dead," And that hurt me while I was inside. And I said, "You know what, I got to make it out. I can't lose my mind. I got to make it out so I could show her that I love her." I cut my hair, I put it away for her, and I said, this is my promise to you. I put it to the side, and I said I had to live on now. And then when the opportunity came again that we reunited, because she was the first person to come see me when I came home, I was able to show that with my journals. I got stacks and stacks of journals, and I say, here, and pictures. So for a person who has that, a resentful child is hurting, you got to accept that, You just got to just make yourself available and just don't get stubborn and say, you don't want me in your life, I don't want you in my life then. Don't do that. Just apologize, because in reality you left and she's been waiting for you. Or he's been waiting for you to come back into their life.
Well, this is not television, so I want to alert everybody to know that Lymus's hair is now, you look like a Madison Avenue businessman. Parted in the middle, graying at the temples.
Yes.
And you look very square.
Thank you. From Delaware.
From Delaware.
I want to say, David, I'm actually experiencing that right now.
What?
Where my son doesn't want me in his life. He's 17.
He's 17-year-old, and he's incarcerated.
Yes, he's incarcerated. And I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. I think it's what works versus what doesn't work. Each family's different. From my family...
Do you write him?
I write him.
Does he write back?
No. He calls
me?
me and he's angry. He sees me in court. What's she doing here? And I continue to show up because he didn't ask to be here. I made some mistakes. I have to take accountability for that. He's still a child. And I'm responsible for him. And I'll be supportive until I can't.
You said he's still a child. One of the important things that I've learned at Fortune, we have an alternative to incarceration program. And most of the young men and women are 17, 18, 19, and they're fully grown adults physically. But when you get to know them,
they're kids.
They're kids. And their decision-making is, And so you're at that situation, both of you, with children at an age where they, and you don't have to have been incarcerated. This is across the board for anybody who's ever been a parent. That children reach a point, certainly when they go through the hormonal thing, that they think they're an adult. You can't just say you're not. So how do you guide them through that terrible, that awful period of teen years that everybody faces?
I think
You're doing it with it. Your
with
youngest
guys.
is 13 now.
Yeah, but I think you just said it. You stop giving directives. You start guiding. I mean, I'm
Is it
doing this with
listening?
you. It's listening and also finding. I utilize their interests. So whatever they're interested in, I use that as a way to connect. And also, look, this is the outcome of this. Look, this is what can happen. You make your choice now, right?
I'm trying to remember. It's been so long since I was a teenager, but I don't think things change from century to century. And I think that young boys, I can't speak for young girls, that there's a fear about, because there's things that we didn't know, but that because the assumption is we're young men, and you both have boys going at that age now, that they can't verbalize what showing fear is unmanly. So, but the unknowns are kind of scary because there's a lot of unknowns, and you have to sort of bluff your way through like you know everything. I mean, when you watch young kids, they're noisy and loud. That's covering up their fears. Lymus Jr. is 9 now, right? Mm-hmm. Well, you're getting the best of it right now because in about 3 or 4 years, it's going to be very tough. Because, he wants to be with you every moment of the day, and in about 3 years from now, he's not going to want to, get out of the way, mister. I have things to do. You have to prepare yourself for that, don't you?
Yeah, of course. I prepare myself with just, like they say, cherishing the moments that I do have now. And I know eventually they'll reflect back. He'll reflect back and be like, I remember, and just making myself available. He likes Fortnite. He likes skating. He likes football. He likes, all these things that are interesting to me, because I'm looking at it from his lens, and it's because I'm making myself available. Sometimes I gotta be mindful, because sometimes I could be there and be on my phone or be talking, and he'd be like, Dad. And sometimes my wife be like, Lymus, what's going on? And Lymus is calling you. I'm like, oh, well, yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. So if I'm not careful, it will slip me by.
We haven't discussed the word love yet. Yeah. Love, I think young people know when they are loved. Mm-hmm. A hug doesn't hurt, but there is something about the way you look at the kid or the way you relate that they know once they have a love, don't they? Even they're going through all the craziness, they know that at the core, mommy or daddy is there for them. Is that... Do we talk about that ever? You have the groups with the women. Do we ever get to that?
I mean, I do workforce development. Now starting parenting, so ask me next year and I'll be an expert.
And there's a lot of guilt with the women who are mothers who have been away, isn't there?
Yes. There's a lot of guilt.
It's not very useful.
But I'm more so focused on the therapeutic support. A lot of these moms are trying to get custody back. So maybe love is something we need to talk about, but I'm more so like, what support can I provide for this family? This family needs support. I'm heavy on the family therapy. Kids need to express themselves, but they need a safe environment. So,
well, I'll share a story with you. There was a woman who came through Fortune, and her, like you said, her great battle was to get the custody, and we shared with her that journey, and she got the custody of this 5-year-old boy. She came to visit us about 8 years later, and she walked in. She said, I'm not in trouble. I didn't get arrested. I didn't get high. And, well, yeah, why are you here? And she said, 13-year-olds can be a lot of trouble. And I said, welcome to the world. And she said, I want him to know how much I love him. And I said, well, have you said that? Whether you've been incarcerated or not incarcerated, that journey for teenagers is horrible for the parents as well as for the kids. it's overrated because we always say the youth is such a wonderful time, but there's so much unknown and so many fears, and the body's changing.
It's interesting. I had to actually read. I didn't know how to properly love my children when I came home. I didn't know how to show
Did you
them
know how
love.
to properly love yourself?
I didn't. But I read the 5 love languages of children, and it opened up a new world for me. I said, okay, and I started asking my kids. One of the things in the book, something the book highlights is, how do you feel loved? How do you know I love you? And the kids would tell you. So my son would tell me, you tell me every day. So it lets me know words of affirmation.
Have you ever heard this the thing that if you're on a plane and they have trouble and you have to get your mask and you're with your children, don't give the children the mask first.
Before yourself.
Put the mask on yourself, because if you're not taken care of, you're not able to take care of the children. I think that can be used in every aspect of life, that if you're not positive about who you are, you're not in a position to be the parent that you want to be.
100%.
I know this too, but, I learned through my wife a lot. Like, even when not being able to care for herself, she cares for her kids. It's just something that is beyond words, the way they dig deep.
Well, that's why people hug, because the words are not there, but the hugging is. The hugging says a lot. Do you hug your kids?
Yeah, I love my kids.
Well, you're big. I hope you don't squeeze too tight.
I got to be gentle with Serenity,
Yeah,
but
a
Lymus,
gentle
I
hugs.
hug him. I
Gentle
hug him all
hugs.
the time.
You play fight with him?
Huh?
Play fight with him. I play fight with both of them, but, less with her now, but she...
This is tough for you talking about it, isn't it, Lymus?
Because everything is happening now, in real time. A lot of the stuff I'm talking about is happening now, in real time, It's not something I could go back and talk about. When you ask me to come, I ask myself, what am I gonna be vulnerable?
But it's okay to be vulnerable.
I know, but this is stuff that's like...
Are you talking with anybody now about it? Are there family counselors? Do you go to family counseling?
Yeah, we started family therapy. We got to take my daughter to get a mental health assessment. You don't want them to experience this because you want to protect them. But these are the realities of life that it's like you get the test first and then you get the lesson later, like they say, and you're seeing her go through that hurting, not knowing.
I wish I could give you a hug.
I just wish I knew more.
But the journey is part of life, and the fact that you're facing it and talking about it. Most people, Lymus, don't deal with it. They bury it and they walk away and hope that it will go away on its own, and it doesn't. It takes emotional commitment and involvement, and you're taking those steps. That doesn't mean it's going to resolve itself immediately,
Of course.
but it's not going to happen without involvement,
Of course,
commitment.
Of course. We doing everything we can. Like I said, we're going to therapy. When I leave work today, we're going to go.
When you
Take
say
it for
we
an
go,
assessment.
is your wife and you, or your wife and
Me and my wife.
and your daughter also?
Yeah, all of us.
And she's open to it, your daughter, or she resists?
She's open. She's a good girl. She's just,
I know she's a good girl, but that's
She's
the
going through a lot.
emotional stuff.
it's just some stuff I don't know. You could. Oh, man,
But
you
there's
could
no-
do everything you want. You could do everything you possibly can to try to help them, and they still have their own life, their own world, their
Yes.
own minds.
They're another person. They can't be who you want them to be. They
Yeah.
are who they are.
Yeah.
And that's, I think that's one of the most difficult parts of parenting,
Yes.
is the realization that this is a full bloom, not full grown, but a full bloom human being.
We see kids as an extension of us, and they're completely different,
Yeah.
like separate from
You may
us.
have the same nose or eyes, but that doesn't mean you have the same needs and hopes and dreams and
100%.
fears. The fears are a big part of it. Well, this is more emotional than I thought it would be, but I know it's a subject that's really on the nerve fiber, and I think you're very bold and brave, both of you, for sharing with it. Tiffany and Lymus. So thank you for being part of our little podcast. Maybe the comforting thought for you both might be that I don't know if anybody listens. So we may be talking in a vacuum. I hope people are listening. If you are, you might want to tell us, respond to the feelings that have been expressed so honestly by Tiffany and Lymus about the difficult subject of reestablishing contact with your children. And you know what? You're not just talking for people who are coming out of institutions, talking for anybody that's ever been a parent. Thank you both, Lymus and Tiffany.
Thank you for having us.
Yes.
Give me one more chance to try and make it right. Give me one more go. Let me see the light.
Thanks very much for joining this podcast. I'm your host, David Rothenberg. If you need more information or if you'd like more information about the Fortune Society, check out our website. It's quite simply fortunesociety.org. A lot of information on it, as well as all of our podcasts.
Give me one more poem. Let me speak straight from my heart. I wanna go home.